your school might be a certified testing center for Certiport. And even if your school isn't, possibly one in your district is. So that's going to be your most economical and easiest way to get certified.
Right. Yep.
Let's talk about if they're not, though. If that's not an option, what you can do is go out to Certiport.com's site. And I'm just going to go ahead and browse out there so that I can walk you through it. There's a section.
That looks like a bunch of happy people.
Hey, yeah, they just passed an exam. So we've got under testing candidates, you notice there's a located testing center.
Yep.
You can go here and use this map to hone in on your area and get a testing site that is near you.
Perfect. Okay.
Go register. You can register online or just call in. Now, we should probably recommend to our audience, you might want to give yourself at least 24 hours to register ahead. Sometimes if you try calling on the same day, you may not get in because the test is proctored and they need to have someone there while you're taking the test.
Yeah, and I'd actually even almost take that one step further and say schedule that in advance, because if you're anything like me, and I know I am, if I just simply say, you know what, yeah, I'm going to go take that exam at some point, some point becomes some later point and some later point, and it just never happens. But if I say, you know what, it's going to be on this date, then that makes it real. So I always like to schedule an exam, say like a month out or 2 months out, so that way I've got a little bit of skin in the game, as it were, sort of a U.S. expression there. But I've actually put something forth. I've invested the money. I've put something there. I've put a stake in the ground, and now that's going to make it a bit more real. That now I know that I've got to be ready by a month or 2 months from now. So that's really going to help me focus in on my studies and make sure that I get it done.
A little self-motivation.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's really important.
I think so.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more. We said that, yes, you could take the test. Let's talk about the retake policy. How do you go about finding out? Now, there is a little bit of a lag in between when you can take the test. You can't turn around and take it the same day. Because it's a recorded session, and that retake policy sometimes changes. Rather than give you what it is today, I'm going to recommend that you just go out and do a search on Microsoft Exam Policies, FAQ, and get the current retake policy.
Exactly, yeah, because it does change from time to time. So definitely just do that, and then that way, if anything does change, you know that you'll always have the updated information.
But the important thing to leave here is you can retake the exam.
Exactly.
So no worries.
Exactly. So again, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, is that if it does turn out that you fail the exam, and that's not a terrible word, it happens to all of us, you always have that ability to go back and take the exam a second time.
Very good. Well, we certainly don't want to leave this out. If we look at my slide here, we want to make sure that you feel comfortable that this exam and this course is right for you. And quite simply put, this is going to help you differentiate yourself amongst the crowd, right, Christopher?
Yes.
No matter where you are in the path, whether you are trying to get into your favorite college or applying for your first internship or even that first entry-level job, the fact is everybody else is too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you've got to have a way to differentiate yourself. And certification is one way certainly to do that. And I know personally myself as a hiring manager, it's something I look for. It gives me a standard metric to measure all the applicants.
Absolutely. And it also shows initiative, because this is an exam where you have to go off on your own, schedule the exam, study for the exam, take the exam. So not only have you shown that, yes, I know how to do HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript, but you've also shown to Rachel, to a potential employer, that, you know what, not only do I know the technology, but I also have the drive. I'm also committed to put forth the time, the effort, the energy to go forth and get certified and take that extra step. Right. And hiring managers like that as well. So if you're on the fence about, well, I don't know whether or not I want to do it, trust me, in the long run, this is the good way to go.
Agreed. I think 10% of it is knowledge, about 90% is motivation and drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So in summary, hopefully that alleviated a little bit of test jitters. You don't have as many butterflies now. I think that's a big part of getting over taking that first exam.
Absolutely.
You know now a little bit about expectations of how the exam is scored. 70 or above to be successful, right, Christopher?
Yep, that's it.
No code.
Well, no writing
No
code.
writing code.
No writing
yes,
code. There will be code on the exam, because it is a code exam, but you will not have to write code.
Right.
Yep.
You know how to register now. You're going to go to Certiport.com or get with your site administrator, and hopefully now you feel that this exam and this course is right for you.
Yeah.
So looking ahead at some of the future modules, if we want to bring my slide up.
There we go.
Yeah. When we talk about creating an HTML5 application, we want to make sure that we understand that it's not HTML5 is not something you actually go out and purchase a service or a tool to create.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Several tools, right? Several tools that we're going to use, and we're going to break these down into the next modules. We're going to look at hypertext markup language, cascading style sheets, and then, of course, JavaScript.
Yep.
And by using all of those tools, we're going to tie those in to create our HTML5 application.
Absolutely.
We'll see you in Module 2, where we'll be talking about HTML.
Yep. So come on back.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome back to preparing for the MTA Exam 98375, which is building HTML5 apps. And again, alongside Rachel Jones, I am Christopher Harrison, and this is going to be Module 2 here, which is really now getting into building up the user interface.
Right.
So if you kind of want to talk a little bit about what it is that we're going to be, well, talking about in this module.
Yeah, sure. Well, of course, when we talk about building the UI, we're going to do that with hypertext markup language. So that's what this module is all about.
Okay.
And if you are new to HTML, HTML5, this is the place to be. We're going to start off from the very beginning, take you through a little section of code that every HTML page will have.
Yep. We're going to say hi to the world.
Hi to the world. We'll change it up a little bit. Maybe hello, World Wide Web.
There we go.
So then if you're already familiar with HTML, you can scrub through the recording a little bit and then get right into the meat. Right after that, we're going to go into discussion about things that you're going to need to know to be successful on this exam.
Yep.
You're going to need to know how to choose and configure basic tags to do things such as display text. Display graphics. And of course, now in HTML5, we can very easily display media on the page. So we're going to actually do a couple of demos of that as well. And then last, we'll talk a little bit about using semantic tags to help organize the content and the flow of our page.
Yep. Sounds perfect.
All right. Well,
sounds perfect.
Let's get right into it. We're going to start off first with just a very basic, simple primer of what every HTML page would have, a little bit of coding. And this is what it'll look like. Yeah. Let's start off first with the very first line, and that's specifying the document type.
Okay.
If you're coming from an older version, right, Christopher, this looks a little bit different.
Yes. Yeah, because in the past, it used to be like this really, really long URL that wasn't really a URL. It was this thing called a namespace, and it caused just so much confusion. This is so simple. Document type, hey, you know what? It's HTML.
Right.
Done. Very simple.
Yeah. And of course, one of the reasons for this is to give us that backward compatibility as well as forward compatibility with the application. So this is really good. The second line of code that we see here is actually optional. And basically, this is just saying that we're going to be coding in English language, right?
Yep.
It is optional, however. Highly recommended, right? Makes our applications more accessible.
Exactly, yeah. Because one of the things that you want to do as much as possible is describe what it is that your page is going to be doing, the language that it's going to be in, etc. Because that way when other devices like screen readers or search engines come along, the more that you can tell them about your page, the better they're going to be able to help visualize that page, or better be able to index that page in the case of a search engine. Now, one little thing to highlight is you do want the HTML tag itself, but that lang equals English or French or whatever language it is that you're going to be using, that's the part that's optional. So you do need the HTML tag, but that little attribute, if you kick over to Rachel's there, that little language equals EN, that's the part that's going to be optional. So, but it's always a good idea that as much of the page you can describe, that's what you want to do.
Yep. Then we go into the two sections of code here that every HTML page has. That's a head section and a body section.
Yep.
And the one thing you want to note is that each one begins with a tag and has a matching end tag.
Yep. Yeah, you'll notice the forward slash there for the end tag. So head would be the start tag, close head, that forward slash there to end that off. And then you'll also notice on the meta tag there, the little forward slash at the end, that's equivalent to having the closing tag as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of shortcut. All the cool kids do it that way.
There we go. Well, in fact, let's talk about this meta tag here.
Yeah.
We specify here that we're using a character set, which is very standard, a character set of UTF-8.
Yep.
And that basically stands for Universal Text Format, and it says basically that we're going to be using 8 bits to represent a character.
Exactly. Yep.
Notice also that we can have tags, these two tags, inside of another tag. And we refer to that as nested tags. Sometimes you might also hear that referred to as child tags. These are child tags, these two here, of the body parent tag. And that's real important to keep in mind as we move through some of these modules, the idea of having child tags and nested tags. So keep that in mind.
Yep.
This is the basics of every HTML page.
Exactly.
I think we should probably actually even demo this.
That's, you know, if I've learned anything, yeah, you got to get in, you got to do it. That's really the best way to learn, I think. So yeah, show us a little bit about how this works.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to cheat a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to cheat. Yeah,
You're going to cheat.
Yeah, I'm going to cheat a little bit.
I love that. Yep.
Here, anytime you can, go ahead and just borrow some code. So I'm going to copy this.
I firmly believe that the best code in the world is the code that's already written.
Yeah. We call it just reuse. We don't steal it, we just reuse it.
There you go.
But for those of you following along, what I'd recommend for you to do is pause the recording right now and go ahead and open up an instance of Notepad. Our first example is going to be in Notepad. The thing about creating an HTML5 application is you don't have to go out and buy any tools, any services. You can actually create an application from beginning to end using Notepad if you want.
Exactly. Yep.
And we're going to actually use a couple of other tools as we move forward, but let's take it simple first and do our first app in Notepad.
Perfect.
I'm going to just do the old Control V. Yeah. Let's see, my code didn't copy, so let me go in and try to grab that again. And copy.
Just hit Control C. Let's just try it that way.
That's what I tried. Let's try it again. I wonder if my copy feature is not available. Let's see.
Yeah, just try a Control C from there, and then let's go back and there we go. See, we're really cooking here.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. So again, you might want to pause the video and get this few lines of code typed in. If you're brand new to HTML, this is a good way to get started. Assuming that you have already done that. What we want to do now is save this page. I'm not going to do the traditional default save, though. I'm going to go to save as. There's a few things that I've got to change. What we want to change, we're not actually saving it as a text document. We're going to be saving this as an HTML document. So I'll just call this test.html. There we go.
And one little thing to note is that you could have it as HTML as well.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, but HTML I think is a better way to have the extension set up.
Okay. We're going to save it right to our desktop. One more thing that we need to change, and that's the encoding. And remember, we said we were using UTF-8. I will change that and say yes, save it. I'll go ahead and close this out and go to my desktop. And there's my file.
Okay.
My test.html. Notice it's got my little default browser link there. I double click it and it opens up in my default browser. There we go, our first HTML app.
There we go, perfect.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to right click this so we can view the source and talk a little bit about what's going on. We can see that there's our title.
Yeah, let's, if you go into format real quick. There you go, and go to text size.
Oh, yeah, let's make that really big for our audience. How does that look?
That looks perfect.
Very good. All right, so we see now that our title is shown up here. And we have one simple H1, that's for header. And then some little bit of information in a paragraph.
Exactly.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, so it looks to me like that head section is basically where you're describing a little bit about the page, like you mentioned the character set, and then the title up top, and then the body is the actual body or the meat. That's really what you're going to be displaying on the page itself.
Exactly. We're going to begin filling those two sections with more stuff
Excellent.
as we move forward.